Hello and welcome to this week's technique class highlights video. This is a shorter form of the class that I do on Zoom with members of my Patreon page. In this week's class, we revisited the adduction exercises which the famous guitarist and teacher Pat O'Brien used to give to his students when they had developed things like tendinitis in the left hand. The principle of the adduction exercise is that we strengthen the muscles that pull the fingers together so that counterbalances the overuse of the muscles which pull the fingers apart, the abduction muscles. We're going to revisit that by going back to what I covered in my first technique tips video, which is to put the second finger on the 8th fret, it's the 6th string, and the 4th finger on the 9th fret. It's very important for a start, if you haven't done these exercises before, that even though you're using fingers 2 and 4, they are on consecutive adjacent frets and quite high up where the frets are closer together. Now the idea here is that we squeeze the two fingers together and then release again. It's really important that we don't slide the fingertips when doing that. Well, it's here that's squeezing together, not the fingertips coming together. Fingertips are staying in one place. And that's why starting on the bass strings is really useful, because the wound strings provide the necessary resistance to stop the fingertips coming together. The idea is that you would practice that maybe a few times on each string, chain string, and so on, and move down the fingerboard where the frets are wider as you become better at it. And you should be able to do it on the treble strings without sliding the fingertips before moving down. It's also very important that the fingers move at the same time. So it's not the 4th finger moving then the 2nd. We're trying to get them to move simultaneously. You would want to do the same with fingers 1 and 3. And after that, stick with those combinations, but have them a fret apart in their normal placement. So say the 2nd finger on fret 7 and the 4th finger on fret 9, which is maybe the natural placement of those fingers, and then see if you can do it just as well. And you would go through the exercise in that way. After that, you would want to move on to adjacent fingers like 3 and 4. So that's adduction, and is a very useful exercise to practice, and you'll probably find that your left hand becomes more accurate as a result of practicing that, because the placement of particularly finger 4 will be better. It will be much less on its side like this and much more straight on, as it were. So we're going to take a standard C major scale using the so-called Segovia scales fingering. And what I want to do is take the principle of the adduction exercises and apply it to the scale. So what we want to do is make sure that our 4th finger is not sitting like this or like this, but it's a central point of the fingertip that's making contact with the string. The same goes for the other fingers, of course, but it tends to be most noticeable with the 4th finger. The 1st finger is also very important, actually, to concentrate on in this. So we'll go through the C major scale once for now in the highlights version, and try and keep the fingertips centered. we'll now move on to playing the same scale, but adding the next string open. So if my left hand finger is pressing the 5th string, I'm going to play the 5th string, but I'm also going to play the 4th string. And this is to ensure that the fingers stay properly on the tips. So not just on the tips in terms of this, but in the tips in terms of your flat fingers and the like. Playing the next string open forces the finger onto its fingertip. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to play that string. It would be muted. So let's try that now. On the first string, there obviously is no higher string, so that is played as a single string. We're now going to look at the question of synchronization and how we can use scales to improve particularly our left hand speed. So we're going to take the scale at the same speed. We're obviously going to play only one string at a time, but we're going to play each note 4 times. So the left hand is going to be moving or left hand is going to be playing the scale at the same speed, but the right hand is going to be going 4 times as fast. 3 and 4 and. You might wonder what the point is. The point is that when we play scales fast, we tend to be playing them faster than we can think. That's what we are doing when we're playing fast pieces in concert, and it's what sports men and women are doing when they train. Say a tennis player trains to be able to return a particular shot from his opponent, and he has to train to do that over and over and over again until it becomes second nature, because all that's going to happen faster than the average brain can think. So repetition, second nature, that all, there's still thought involved when you're doing it, but that's all helping the thought along. So by keeping the scale slow, but playing each note 4 times, our left hand has to land 4 times as fast. It has to be, if you like, 4 times as accurate as it moves from finger to finger. It has to move just as fast as it would if you played the scale at the speed of the right hand. But here we have thinking time. We can concentrate on the movement from finger to finger. And what we're trying to address in an exercise like that is the left hand being slower than the right. For example, if I were playing that scale fast and the left hand was landing ahead of the right, or if it was landing behind the right, it means our left hand is slow. Even if it lands ahead, it still means it's slow. It's having to get there in advance because it can't actually make the movement fast enough. So that's what's being addressed by that exercise. And of course, you can do that at any speed you like. I kept it quite slow so that I could explain the principle. And finally, a really cool synchronization exercise for those of you who can do tremolo. We do the tremolo pattern, P-A-M-I, with the right hand. And with the left hand, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it goes like this. So when we do that faster, it's very easy to see or hear and feel where the left hand is lagging behind. We can eventually go really fast with it. What we've got to do in order to get to that fast speed is to do what we did with the scales a moment ago, which is to play each note 4 times. Again, the principle is the same. Our fingers having to move much faster from note to note, but we're keeping the tempo, the musical tempo, slow, and simply forcing the fingers to move faster because we've got we're playing each note 4 times, so they've got a sort of quarter of the space to change, but we've still got thinking time at that slow speed. Once you can do that, play each note twice, but keep the tremolo. So the fingers are going to change halfway through the tremolo. P, A, M, I, P, A, M, I, and so on. And that's the stage before being able to go. And obviously you can go through that whole process at the faster tempo that I demonstrated a moment ago. So I hope this highlights class is helpful to you. If so, please do like and subscribe, leave a comment. If you want to check out the Patreon page where you get these get the full-length classes and a chance for live questions at the end, then you can do so at the link below. We've got a class most weeks, works out about 35 classes per year. So there's kind of holiday time, school holiday time, and so forth. But about 35, 36 classes per year. But either way, hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you'll tune in to the next one. All the best.